Adams, a consultant for the medical examiner's office. And Dr. Osborne says that Dr. Rourke Adams does a quick examination, basically an informal thing, like, one doctor saying to another, hey, look at this and tell me what you think.
Like I would ask a coworker to proofread an email for me.
Yeah.
I mean, if this is such an important part of the case, why didn't they have her do like a more formal, thorough, official exam?
Well, Dr. Osborne says that he leaves the decision of what further testing needs to be done to the consultants. So basically he's saying, like, if Dr. Rourke Adams didn't suggest further testing, like, that would be it. Like, he was going to show her, and then just she can decide, can I tell on the spot? Do I need more?
Right, like, she would look at it and be like, no, there's going to be an issue. I should do something more, or it's not a big deal. Let it go.
Yeah, and ultimately he says that Dr. Rourke Adams did not find any defect of the spinal cord. He says that she does confirm that the dura was cut, and while it's possible Ellen would have decreased sensation, she wouldn't necessarily lose her motor function.
So she would have or could have been like numb, but still able to move around and stab herself again?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, that's what Dr. Osborne says was relayed to him by Dr. Rourke Adams. Now, according to the Philadelphia Daily News, it's rare that the police department disagrees with the medical examiner's office about someone's manner of death. And not long after Dr. Osborne's visit to Dr. Rourke Adams, a meeting is held in his office to discuss Ellen's case. 2 police officers are there, along with Dr. Osborne, the chief medical examiner, Sam Galino, and a representative from the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. We don't know when exactly this meeting took place because, according to court records, both Doctors Galino and Osborne say they don't remember. Dr. Galino says that he's not sure who called the meeting, but it wasn't him. Dr. Osborne says he thinks Dr. Galino called it, and it doesn't seem to be officially documented anywhere. The circumstances are just odd around this. And the reason for the meeting is even weirder.
This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. The idea of going to therapy used to be really scary for me and kind of full of shame. The stigma I held in my mind for myself made me feel broken or like something was wrong with me, but not anymore. I've come to terms with the fact that being healthy is more than just, annual checkups with my doctor for my body and eye appointments and dental checkups. It's my mental wellness too, which is where BetterHelp helps me. Therapy is just routine maintenance for your mental and emotional well-being to prevent bigger issues down the road and to help you better cope with the things you face in life. Going to therapy doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It just means you're investing in yourself to keep your mind healthy. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Why invest in everything else and not your mind? This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Crime Junkie listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/crimejunkie. That's BetterHelp.com/crimejunkie.
It seems that this group was brought together in an effort to change Ellen's manner of death from homicide to suicide. What's even stranger is that Dr. Osborne says that up until that point, he had never met with the police and the DA's office to talk about changing someone's manner of death from homicide to suicide. In this meeting, police say that they have something interesting to share, which they say helps prove Ellen's death has to be suicide. They tell Dr. Osborne that someone else was with Sam Goldberg when he forced the door open and found Ellen dead in the kitchen. On the night of Ellen's death, a man named Phil was on duty as a security guard in the lobby of the Venice Lofts. And according to police, when Sam couldn't get into the condo, he went downstairs and got Phil. And Phil went back upstairs with him, and he was there when Sam broke in.
And how do police know this? Like, did Sam tell them this information that night, or did he tell them later?
So it's not totally clear because we don't have access to any of Sam's verbatim statements. But all we know is at some point, Sam told police that Phil was with him when he found Ellen. Again, I don't know if it's right there at the scene that night. I don't know if it's later at the police station or what.
But the information got conveyed to police at some point.
Yeah, and we know that through these records about this meeting. But to detectives, this backs up Sam's story that Ellen was alone in a locked apartment at the time she was stabbed. Now, I don't know if Dr. Osborne knew about that third-party witness being present before this meeting with investigators. There's no mention about this Phil guy in their earlier report from the medical examiner's office, so again, I would assume not, but I don't know for sure. But within a week or so of this meeting, in early March 2011, Dr. Osborne notifies the police department that he is now declaring Ellen's manner of death a suicide.
I guess I just don't understand, like, the evidence. Her body, what you, as a medical examiner, are supposed to be going off of, told you it was murder. How can you just change that based on some circumstantial stuff around her case brought to you by the police who, this isn't their job. It's your job to determine it.
Yeah, like you said, I feel like the most honest answer is the one that you came to without any outside influence. But I mean, I have heard that it's not just an autopsy that determines the manner of death. Like, for instance, if a person is found with a gunshot wound to the head, like, you might need the police investigation to find out if it's a homicide or suicide, but I'm not an ME. I don't know.
But there was already a ruling, and then the police were like,
Yeah.
But what about this? And slid something across the table.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like this.
Now, for many of the people following Ellen's story, that's that. Another tragedy in a city that's seen plenty of them. But for the Greenbergs, who, by the way, find out about this ruling being changed to suicide through media reports, for them, this is just the beginning. Because after their daughter's death, the Greenbergs start hearing some disturbing things. Like, maybe Sam and Ellen didn't have such a perfect relationship after all.
Over time, her friends told me that her relationship had changed with Sam. Ellen, do you want to go have Chinese food tomorrow night? Let me talk to Sam. Ellen, do you want to go out tomorrow and go to a basketball game? Let me talk to Sam. In other words, Sam was in control.
And that wasn't like the Ellen her parents knew. Josh and Sandy had always admired how confident and gutsy their daughter was.
Ellen was a leader, and she accomplished things.
She got 2 master's degrees while she was working all that time.
Ellen met Sam, a TV producer for NBC Sports, on a blind date back in 2007. They were set up by a friend's mother, and Ellen's family says that she was head over heels for him. They moved in together after a couple of years of dating, and when Sam proposed to Ellen in June 2010, she was thrilled. As far as Josh and Sandy knew, Ellen was happy with Sam. But now they wondered what was real. And they started thinking, what if Ellen was just using her job as an excuse for her anxiety? A reason to come home. They were also faced with what they perceived to be strange behavior by Sam and his family after Ellen's death. They don't know why Sam's uncle took Ellen's personal belongings out of the apartment. According to Tom, the family's PI, the claim was that they had taken the stuff for, quote, safekeeping, but Sam's family didn't give Ellen's belongings to Josh and Sandy at the funeral or even mention that they had them. And the day after the funeral is when Sam's uncle brought the laptops to police. And when the Greenbergs do finally get their daughter's stuff back, they find something in Ellen's purse that catches their attention. It's a gas station receipt from the day Ellen died, literally hours before at 1:26 p.m. And so they wonder, why would Ellen bother topping off her gas tank if she planned to take her own life just a few hours later? Now, Ellen had been telling everyone that she was stressed and anxious because of work, and in fact, teachers were supposed to turn in their students' grades on the very day she died.
Oh, so she was like on deadline too.
Yeah, but when a new teacher takes over Ellen's first grade class, she apparently finds everything in perfect order. Like, lesson plans are ready to go. Records are super organized, which, again, doesn't mean that Ellen didn't feel overwhelmed or anxious at work, but she seemed to be on top of everything.
Okay, but Ellen might not have been planning to do anything when she gassed up her car. I mean, choosing to take your own life can be a really important